Hello, everyone, and welcome to our open house. I'm Robin Christ, the program director, and I'm excited that you are all here and appreciate your interest in the University of Wisconsin Integrated Graduate Program in Nutrition and Dietetics.
Hi, I am Kim Walden. I am the program manager for the supervised practice portion of our program. I'm a registered dietitian for I think 16 or 17 years now, and I've practiced in various settings throughout those years.
And I am the program manager of the online master's degree, which is here connected very close to the hospital in the Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences.
So today our goals are to cover the program's mission and goals, an overview of the different facets of our program and the application process, and then lastly, we'll finish up with some question and answer time. So, who are we? We are the Academic Medical Center associated with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We're an enterprise that reaches across Wisconsin and northern Illinois. We also maintain many academic affiliation agreements with organizations across the region. Pictured here, you're going to see our main university hospital, the adjoining American Family Children's Hospital, as well as our new East Madison Hospital that houses our learning kitchen. So the UW IGPND partners with leading educators from UW-Madison and practitioners from UW Health to create programming that provides the skills and knowledge needed by the next generation of nutrition professionals by combining applicable graduate nutrition courses and supervised experiential learning. So our goals are pretty simple. We want our graduates to secure and demonstrate evidence-based knowledge, high-level problem solving, and critical skills to prepare them for a future in nutrition and food practice. And our second goal is that graduates will be able to pursue their individual career goals successfully.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with some of the details of the program and how it looks from a logistical standpoint in terms of coursework and when you need to move to Madison and do the in-person supervised experiential learning. So first off, the program has 4 concentrations that we'll talk a little bit more about in subsequent slides, but you are enrolled in the Master of Science in Clinical Nutrition Graduate Program, which is taught here in the Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences and granted by the University of Wisconsin-Madison Graduate School. It is a total of 34 credits, and it can be completed full-time over 4 semesters or 6 semesters in a part-time format, 5 to 6 semesters. And I'll show you that in another slide. So to first explain our 4 concentrations from broad categories, we offer 2 tracks of what we call medical nutrition therapy, or you'll often see it in other programs like a clinical concentration. First, we have the adult emphasis, which is our largest emphasis. We have about 12 spots for that track or concentration. And we explain this as kind of our bread and butter. This has always been the emphasis of our program, providing an excellent foundation in MNT. We have had this program since the 1950s, so that's why also it's the highest number of spots. 2 years ago, we really saw an increase in interest and a need for individuals who are trained specifically in the area of pediatrics. So we were really excited to offer about 4 spots in a pediatric concentration because, as Kim explained, we have the American Family Children's Hospital, which is an excellent facility and training atmosphere for those with an interest in pediatrics. Years ago, I think, gosh, almost 5 to 10 years ago, we introduced more of a community and public health focused concentration, and that has really evolved to what we now call our lifestyle medicine and community nutrition concentration. This has about 4 spots, and this has really great opportunities that bridge the clinical side with the community side. And especially right now, lifestyle medicine, food is medicine, culinary nutrition are really exciting and growing areas of practice. And we have excellent facilities and preceptors that allow you to gain more experience in that area. And then finally, our fourth concentration is performance and sports nutrition. So that is up to 2 spots, and that is an opportunity to spend extended time with Badger Athletics here in Madison, along with opportunities through the university's RecWell programming on campus. So what does the timing of the program actually look like? So those 34 credits in a full-time track or schedule starts your very first summer after, if you're a spring graduate from a bachelor's program, you can start right away in early June. And June through August, that first summer is 100% online. So you can take the online graduate courses wherever you're living. You can continue to work during that time, live at home, live in your current college apartment, which often is a great financial benefit to students. Then the first week of August, that is when the on-site orientation begins here in Madison, Wisconsin. So that is when you would need to relocate to the city. You then begin your first practicum course, which is your supervised experiential learning. Or if you're looking at other programs, that is really the dietetic internship part, kind of that's the old name, where you're doing the hands-on rotations 4 days a week. In addition to that hands-on training, you're then continuing to take online graduate courses, which can be done then online and are flexible that you can kind of fit it in among your rotations. It's a similar schedule then in the spring. You do your second semester of practicum and rotations. You continue online graduate coursework. That wraps up the second week in May. And at that point, we move to our second summer, which again is 100% online. So that allows students, which this summer, I think 75%, a good majority, stayed in Madison. So their lease continued through July and August. They're able to, again, work while they're finishing up the graduate degree. And we also offer some opportunities for externships in different areas through UW Health. So I'm going to quickly click through because you'll see that we have what we call a part-time track or a part-time option. And what this allows you to do is to extend your graduate coursework into 5 or 6 semesters. We can be very flexible depending on what you need in terms of timing and financial help. The most important thing to note is that during your first fall and spring semesters, you continue to complete your rotations and your practicum on the same schedule as the full-time cohort. So you are still doing 4 days a week of rotations. What we do is we decrease the number of graduate courses that you would take during that time. And as you can see, you then can simply take 1 or 2 additional semesters of just online coursework. This is really important if you are familiar and you're following the pretty significant changes to the federal student loans. So if you're in our full-time track, because it's 4 semesters only, you apply through FAFSA and you'll receive 1 federal loan payment for those 4 semesters. By extending to 5 or 6 semesters, that does allow you to apply for 2 years worth of federal student loans. So again, as you're starting your research, you're looking at the cost and how you're going to fund this. That's something to keep in mind. And again, we can be really flexible with the timing in this part-time track. And the last thing I'll say on that is this is really a great option if you are a student where you know that you will have to work significant working hours during the program. So students in this track have been able to successfully hold down a part-time job while completing the program. So I showed some examples of the different curriculums that the courses you would complete over those semesters. Depending on the track or concentration you're in, you'll have between 3 and 6 elective credits. So here's a list of some of the common chosen elective courses that you would have the opportunity to enroll in. So to learn more about those specific rotations, I'm going to hand it back to Robin.
All right. Thanks, Michaela. Okay, so as Michaela mentioned, there are the four different concentrations, but all concentrations provide a wide variety of experiences that will provide you with the knowledge and skills to be successful in all areas of dietetics, not just the area of concentration. So one of the benefits of doing the supervised practice in any program is that you really get to figure out what you really enjoy and like what you're really good at. And for some students, that might be different at the end of the year as, compared to the beginning of the year. So because that changes, or sometimes maybe it's not so much the interest that changes, but it's what jobs are available. Any concentration you go through, you are going to come out being well prepared um, to accept any job. And so each concentration is designed to have similar rotations to the other three, but the location and the duration of the particular experience might vary slightly depending on the concentration. So just to kind of walk through each of them in a little bit more detail, starting with the MNT with the adult emphasis. So you can see it's about 24 weeks of clinical, 11 weeks of inpatient, 8 weeks of ambulatory, 2 weeks of pediatrics, and then some free choice. So one thing I really want to emphasize is that for like our ambulatory time, our inpatient time, there are a lot of different patient populations that you will get to work with, and you'll work with different preceptors. So you're not just on one unit with one preceptor for those 11 weeks. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide, but I just really want to emphasize that there's quite a bit of variety within your clinical hours. And then, of course, you'll have community and public health experiences and food systems as well. So for M&T Pediatrics, it's pretty similar, but you just have more time in peds. So with the adult emphasis, your management, which is kind of like staff relief that you do at the end of the program, and critical care would be with adult populations. Well, in the peds emphasis, you would be doing those in the children's hospital. So just getting you that extra time with the kiddos. And then one of the free choices, you work with lactation in the milk and formula lab. But again, you have food systems and you have community and public health. For lifestyle medicine, um, you'll do a little shorter time inpatient. You'll work in ambulatory, which does include some free choices. Um, you'll still get peds experience. You'll get another 1 week free choice, but you get to work in our culinary medicine program when you're doing your food systems. So you'll get to see some of the hospital food service side, but then you get to spend time in our learning kitchen, which is really fun. And then you also work with our lifestyle medicine program and get to see it's a diabetes prevention program. So we follow the CDC curriculum and we track our outcomes, but there's health coaching involved. We offer one-on-one visits for participants that maybe want a little extra support. You also will get to see like group medical visits. Some of our specialties like our cardiology clinic, we have group medical visits that are very specific to cardiology MNT. So if you're interested in being a little bit more in that community realm, this is a really great experience. And then for performance nutrition, again, you're going to get adequate clinical time to really build that strong foundation. Your food systems will be at Badger Athletics, but you will also get to do some sports counseling. And then you also, as Michaela mentioned, would do some time with our recreation and well-being, or our RecWell program, which also has a teaching kitchen. So lots of great variety, and you really can't go wrong with all of the concentrations. But if you go to the next slide, please, I'll give you a little bit more of an overview of some of the choices that you would get to give input into when we would meet with you. So all students, once you have um, been accepted into our program, we set up a one-on-one with you to really try to get to know you a little bit better, better understand your preferences, and then you will get to like rank these populations based on your interests. So for inpatient, there's a chronic disease, so that's kind of our general medicine units. There's an acute disease rotation, and that would either be with our abdominal transplant, oncology, or neurology unit. For surgery, you would either be with on the burn and trauma units, kind of the GI surgery, so ostomies, Whipples, bowel resections, or on our like urology and gynecology. So that's more of a cancer surgery unit. You would definitely get to see pediatrics. You'll have critical care. Everyone gets a 1 week renal experience where we get you to a dialysis unit for a tour. We have speakers come in and kind of talk about some different aspects of renal care management. I kind of said, so it's kind of like staff relief. So it's really like you are getting to manage a unit. So you're kind of being left to be a little bit more independent, but of course, there's always a preceptor nearby in case you do have questions or need support. And then for ambulatory, everyone has a counseling rotation. This is really trying to help you develop those motivational interviewing skills. Um, Everyone gets a diabetes experience, and then you'll get a free choice for ambulatory as well. And some of those options include transplant clinic, eating disorders, cardiology, surgical weight management, pediatrics could be your free choice, oncology or the digestive health. And then we also have some 1 week free choice options that are really just intended to get you some exposure to different areas of practice. So they're a little bit more of an observational experience, but they're just a really great way to see a different potential career path. So we have biochemical genetics, or like patients with inborn errors of metabolism. You could spend a week just doing parenteral nutrition orders. You can do a geriatrics focused inpatient rotation, research, and go down to the university and see some research labs, media marketing and private practice. The Central Wisconsin Center is kind of a respite home for patients that have pretty significant either cognitive or developmental delays. So you could spend some time there. Care Direct is our partner for home care. So they provide like tube feeding supplies and formula and TPN to patients that are in the home environment. You could choose to do an extra week. Let's say you got GI surgery and you really want to see burn and trauma. So you could use one of your free choices to do a week in burn and trauma. Or we also have a ketogenic therapy clinic. For community performance and public health opportunities, we partner with food banks and food pantries. We try to get everyone a school nutrition experience. Women, infants, and children, or a WIC clinic, is an option. The aging or Agency for Aging Resources, UW Extension, Access Community Health Center, and the University of Madison's Recreation and Wellbeing are options. Excuse me. And then for that lifestyle medicine track, as I kind of already mentioned, you'll get to see group medical visits, the learning kitchen classes, lifestyle medicine, or the lifestyle change program, which are all really, really great experiences as well.
Okay, so that was a lot of information, and you might be looking at other programs, and you see similar curriculums, you see similar academic medical centers. So then you kind of come down to the question of, well, how do I decide one program over the other? So we're going to talk about what we feel and what we hear from our alumni as really some of the biggest strengths and what does set us apart from other programs. So to start off with, a common bit of feedback that we hear and why students end up choosing our program is going the 4-semester accelerated format really is desirable for students who want to get to the workforce a little bit quicker. They, have the momentum from their undergraduate dietetics program, and they just want to keep going, it really adds on about 15 months from when you graduate your bachelor's to when you can become a dietitian. So they really like that accelerated format. And the second thing is that the curriculum within our graduate program and the rotations we have are really intended to build upon the foundation that you're getting in your dietetics bachelor's degrees. So you really should not feel that you're repeating anything. You're building upon that, which allows us to really train you at a high level of practice, and really allows you to get, employment in areas that is quite broad. We're going to look at the cost of the program and some of our pass rate. We're going to look at Madison, and a common question we get is, we're an online program, but yet do you build community and cohort? And you definitely will. And then finally, Kim is going to talk about really the number one reason why students feel this is an exceptional program, and that's our preceptors. So to start off with, we have all of the tuition and fees paid based on the number of credits you enroll. So if you do the 4-semester program or you do the 5 or 6 semester part-time track, the program is the same exact cost. So for next year, it will be right around $32,000 total. So that's not per academic year total cost for the program. When you look at the pass rate of the RDN exam, our first time pass rate is 91%. And the 1-year pass rate, which is when you take the exam within 1 year of that first time, that is 100%. And if you look at the national averages, we are, well above that. And that's something we're really proud of, because not only do we train you well, we also invest and we'll spend time with you preparing for that RDN exam, because it's an exam you have to study for. So we provide resources, materials, and questions throughout the program. And then one of the other program goals that we look at, and we get feedback from our alumni, is, are you employable? And really, are you able to pursue your career goals? And 100% of our graduates, they text us, they fill out our official forms, and they tell us, yes, I really felt I was prepared to apply for any job, that I had an interest in. So down here, a lot of students ask, well, where do people find jobs? So we're obviously here in the Midwest, and we do have a lot of students that, come from other Big Ten schools, other Midwest schools. But we're really happy to be welcoming students from both the East and West Coast, with our incoming cohort. And we see that, yes, they're able to find employment at really any other academic medical center throughout the country. And I'll have some other alumni examples here. So these are 4 that have stayed in Madison. So you can see that another unique thing that we're proud of our alumni is that if there's an area of practice that you have an interest in, we're seeing our graduates get hired into those specialty areas right out of our program. Years ago, I think when Kim, Robin, and I were graduating, you could never dream of like getting a specialized, GI position right out of graduate school. But definitely the times are changing and our students are prepared. So here are the 4. One is in preventative cardiology. Molly is at our cancer center. Amy is in our GI, digestive health specialization center, and Anna stayed on at the Children's Hospital. And then outside of UW Health, these are some examples of students who have been in those other concentrations and tracks and where they have found employment. So Deanna, she's in the Chicago area. So she was more of a consulting role working with a regional community center and mental health center. Michelle, she was hired out at UConn in the performance nutrition area. We have also seen, growth and expansion of all the telehealth companies. So a common one is Nourish. And so some of our alumni work there. And Alyssa was hired at an eating disorder center, I believe on the West Coast area. Oh, here again was this was a quote that was from one of our alumni. And I think that's one of the other things we really um, put effort into not just getting you to the end of the program, but we will see you through the employment process, getting you that first job, and then 3 years later, you're looking for a change or you're moving to a different area. We continue to work with you, and we are more than happy to connect you and walk you through that process even years after the program. So one of the other questions we get is, again, we're an online program. You're doing that online coursework. So do you kind of form, a cohort, and are you exposed to others within the program? And the answer is 100% yes. So kind of that first and second summer, it offers the flexibility of, living where you need to live. But once you move here, we have multiple parts of the program that are built in for community building. So one of the touch points that we are all at every month, really August through May, is we have a weekly class day. And those are held at the main hospital, that East Madison Hospital, or as you can see on this slide, several of the field trips that we take to an organic farm. We volunteered at a food bank. I think we're doing the cheese cutting in the bottom photo. And then we plan some social events, and then a lot of times we just see you guys take off, that you tend to do some, meetups and socializing outside of the program. I'll talk about Madison. It's a great city. And we often have a great blend of UW-Madison undergraduates who know the city, who have lived here. And so they are always a warm welcome to students who move to Madison and kind of show them the activities. The other thing I should mention too is in the online graduate coursework, we are also we try to put you in groups with your incoming cohort. So this summer, I just finished my assessment course, and so they are doing group work with students that will be in the cohort. So you do get exposure during the summer courses to meet your classmates. And then finally, I'm just going to talk and rave about Madison. So if you have never been, we highly encourage you to come and visit us. So Madison is the state capital, and it's also home to the University of Wisconsin's flagship campus. Most of this downtown campus and city is located on an isthmus. So we're surrounded by lakes. So if you are at all an outdoorsy person in summer, winter, or fall, then it's a great city. We have a great local food scene. So we have the largest direct producer farmers market in the country. And a lot of times the summer is full of different festivals, and yeah, the winter and fall, different events that the students like to attend. So I'll hand it to Kim to really talk about, again, after all that, what is really our number one strength that we hear from our students.
Thanks. So if you look here on the right, you're going to see some quotes from former students, but really they just point to the fact that here at UW, we take precepting seriously. We hear time and again how one of our greatest strengths is the quality and care of our preceptors. The majority of our supervised practice experiences are one-to-one precepting. That doesn't mean you're necessarily alone with preceptors. You might be sitting next to another preceptor and student. So we seeing your cohort around, but it's typically one-on-one learning. Many of our preceptors are experts in their areas and they're passionate about teaching. 94% of our preceptors are registered dietitians. Approximately 87% have advanced degrees, and 35% have specialty certifications. And we think 35% of them are graduates of this program, but we believe that number might be climbing over the next year. We have additional preceptors that are chefs, DTRs, business owners, and public health managers. But time and time again, this is one of the number one reasons students say they had a great experience with our program.
So, candidate consideration. So what are we looking for? So students must complete a bachelor's degree from an Ascend accredited program. So you have to have that DPD verification statement. That is something that not all graduate programs or coordinated programs require, but we do. You also have to have a minimum cumulative GPA of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. However, I do really want to emphasize we understand that life happens. Um, maybe you started out in a completely different program and it just was not your thing and you didn't have very good grades. But since you have switched your major, your GPA definitely improved and you're at maybe a 2.8 or a 2.9. Or, we've definitely seen situations where either the applicant themselves or a very close family member gets, significantly ill during the course of their undergraduate career. And that can definitely impact your GPA as well. So if you don't quite meet that 3.0 and you are very interested in our program, please reach out to us and we can talk through options. The other thing that we will get asked and unfortunately can't accommodate, but UW Health nor UW-Madison offer visa sponsorship to candidates for the program. So the application procedures, all applications have to be submitted through DICUS. You probably are well familiar with that at this point. We participate in the fall and the spring selection cycles. So October 4th is the deadline for the fall admission cycle, and then students will be notified of our decision by November 1st. And then for the spring cycle, applications have to be in by January 15th, and then students would be notified by March 1st following those traffic rules. But if positions remain open after our spring selection round, applicants would be accepted via, or applications would be accepted via DICUS on a rolling basis. So we definitely encourage you to check out our website on the UW Health page that will provide a lot more details. But, oh, sorry, check out the UW Health application page in the DICUS portal. We also have a great web page on our uwhealth.org that will provide a lot of information. But check out the DICUS page. A GRE is not required, but more specifics for the application. So we ask that you write a personal statement. We give you 5 questions that we would like you to touch on in your submission. So kind of why do you want to enter the dietetics profession? Share, maybe some experiences that have helped you prepare for your career. What are your short and long-term goals? What are your strengths and weaknesses or areas needing improvement? And why are you interested in our program? And why do you think it will be a good fit for you? And then there's 3 references. So ideally, 2 of those are coming from an academic source, such as a faculty member, and then 1 would be from a work supervisor, or if you haven't had a paid experience, but you've done a lot of volunteer work, it could definitely be somebody in your volunteer network as well. And then you will indicate your preferred concentration. So if you are only interested in 1 concentration, that's all you would list. But if you are open to a couple different concentrations because you're really interested in our program and know that you're going to get a well-rounded education either way, you can definitely rank your preferences. But that's listing more than 1 option lets us know that you're open if we don't have spots for your preferred concentration. And then all students do have to apply to be an employee of UW Health as well. So you'll apply to the grad school and to UW Health, but those pieces come after you get and accept the offer into the program. But you will have to meet all UW Health onboarding requirements. So there is an in-person employee health visit that does take place in July, even though the rest of on-site in-person program doesn't start until August. You'll have to do your proof of negative TB test, proof of titers for like your measles, mumps, varicella, and rubella, a tetanus vaccine within the last 10 years, and evidence of hepatitis B vaccination or a signed waiver to decline. And then I actually don't think any of our affiliates are requiring the drug screening at this time, but if we had a new partner or something that required a drug screening, we would ask you to do that. But most students don't need to, and then you do have to complete a background check. So if you want to learn more, we are always more than happy to connect with you, whether that's, you know, in person if you want to come check out the city, or a virtual meeting, or you can just email us and ask some questions. dietintern@uwhealth.org is our email box. So please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything we can clarify or talk more about. We're happy to do that. So, well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.